Warning, the following material is extremely disturbing. On Grave Matter, we try to be as accurate as possible and we collect information from many different sources. We don't condone or glorify murder, and we try to be as sensitive as possible to victims and their families while approaching a serious subject matter with a sense of humor. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to, what is this, episode
9. Number 9 of the Grave Matter.
We're almost into double digits.
Oh, man. I'm excited. It's
landmark.
Going faster than I thought.
Yeah, it is.
It's your boy, Chris, along with your girl, Jillian.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
We have a very interesting episode in store tonight. But first, I want to talk about this bad luck streak that I've been on.
Uh-oh.
Man, I think I'm cursed. I'm not sure how it happened, but I really need to go to some type of place to get cleansed or something along those lines. Is that an animal?
Some fat-ass June bug just landed on my back.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's so clumsy.
That's big enough to punch.
It hits like a paintball.
Oh, my God.
They're so stupid. They're like, hey, let's see how many things I can slam into.
Probably me with my bad luck streak, but I feel like everything's just been going crazy. So I had a really long day at work because, yes, I have a day job, and I walked outside of work after my super long day, and I was like, fucking finally, it's over, man. I get to go home. And I had a flat tire. And I was like, good gracious.
Good gracious.
Ass is bodacious. But for real, I was like, how the hell did this happen? I still haven't figured it out.
It's like you were a part of a sitcom or something.
Oh, man. And seriously, I mean, like, it's like the Truman Show, and I'm like, am I being watched right now? Like, are there people in on this?
It was me.
I don't know. It's
I went over there
absolutely...
and flattened that shit.
Drove all the way over there. I could see it. I started thinking about crazy shit in my head. I was like, did I park in somebody's spot that's like Debo? That was like, oh, hell no. And just like slashed my tires instantly.
What bike?
What bike? What tire? You know what I mean? Oh, shit. I don't know. Who knows? There was a car parked in that same spot today, and I was like, it's got to be him.
Was his shit flat too?
No.
Did you look?
Yeah. I did. I was like, I want to check the license plates. I want to see if there's any interesting stuff inside the window.
You got deep conspiracy on this,
I sure do. Yeah, it's probably because of the podcast. I was like, this guy's obviously a serial killer.
Like somebody's going to be following me on the way home with this donut.
I wasn't sure what was going on, but yeah, it was unfortunate. So it is what it is. But let's get to what we're talking about here. Today we have two very, I don't want to say good, very interesting people to discuss. Jill has somebody, I don't remember, Charles Albright, right? Known as the Eyeball Killer. Eyeball Killer?
Yep, the Eyeball Killer, the Dallas Ripper, the Dallas Slasher. He's another
Texas
the Dallas
guy.
Slasher.
I feel like I've heard about that. Okay. And I am doing another Louisiana guy who goes by the name of Derrick Todd Lee, a.k.a. the Baton Rouge serial killer, which with several people that were deemed serial killers in the Baton Rouge area, there's got to be something about this guy that gives him the official championship title belt, you know what I mean, of the Baton Rouge serial killer.
I've seen him a lot of times throughout research. I've come across him, but I haven't read too much on him. So
very interesting case. Very interesting case indeed.
Nice. Well, my guy's he's short and sweet. I mean, he was pretty ruthless and he was a bit of a bitch, but you know.
He was just a bit of a bitch, wasn't he? Well, let's talk about him first. We'll do yours since he's shorter, and then we'll get into Derrick.
Okay.
So Charles Albright, which sounds like he invented some type of fucking engineering marvel.
Light bulbs.
Charles Albright.
I think that was attributed to somebody already.
Yeah, but well, okay, yes, it was Mr. E.
All right, so Charles Albright, not the inventor of light bulbs. He was called the Dallas Ripper, the Dallas Slasher, and the Eyeball Killer. And you'll find out why for a very good reason.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
He was born in August of 1933. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was an orphan, so he was actually adopted by a couple named Fred and Dell Albright. So
Interesting.
who knows who he really is?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I
what
sure
happened
do.
to his real parents? Did he kill them? Were they killers?
No, but it makes you think, and when we talk about Derrick a little bit later, you'll understand my thoughts on that, and there's this interesting correlation between him and his birth father. So,
Well, Fred and Dell Albright seemed like pretty decent people. Dell was a teacher. She was really strict, though. She was very overprotective, and she actually pushed him educationally to like advance quicker than he was supposed to. So he skipped 2 grades actually.
oh damn,
yeah.
2 of them.
Yeah, and she was actually pretty supportive. And as a teenager, she bought him a gun because he was interested in hunting and taxidermy.
Okay,
So
just like you, Jill, in your taxidermy days, right?
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually helped him, and she got all the stuff that he needed to do taxidermy, and she actually helped him do the taxidermy.
Like dead animals.
Yeah, that'd be the taxidermy I'm talking about.
Is that what she gathered? Are those the materials that she gathered?
No, she got him the gun. She let him get the dead animals, and she got all the equipment that he would need to do the taxidermy, I guess.
Interesting.
And she helped him figure out how to do it because that's what he was
Beans
interested
and
in.
bullets. Yep.
Yeah. So he didn't have a very good start. He was 13, and he was a petty thief. But because he had skipped 2 grades, he graduated high school at age 15 and went to North Texas University right away.
Smart thief.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It sounds like the
Smart.
name of that sounds like the name of like a shitty Disney movie.
smart thief.
Yeah.
Boss baby, smart thief.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
They did Smart House, right? So, whatever.
They did Smart House. I don't think I've ever heard that one. I've heard of
Oh yeah, that's
Monster House.
No. Smart House is famous. This is like on the Disney Channel. I don't know.
I don't do a lot of cartoons and shit like that.
No, I think it was like a Disney family movie with like it just like bad acting.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, but it was real people.
Yeah, I can't keep track of what's Disney and what's Pixar and what else there is after that.
That's true. Disney owns everything. They own Star Wars now, so.
Yeah, I don't follow that either, so.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
It's cool. That's what you're here for, right?
That's what they say.
So once he went to college at 15 years old, he expressed
Doogie Howser over here.
right. Well, not as good. He expressed interest in being a doctor or a surgeon, and he actually started pre-med training, but he didn't complete it.
What a bitch. No, I'm just
He was more interested in stealing shit and getting caught. So he was at 16. He was arrested for he was actually caught with 2 handguns, a rifle, and some cash that he had stolen. And he spent a year. In
Yeah, that's
jail for
not a
that.
red flag at all.
Right, at 16. Maybe apply yourself in school and you'd be a doctor by now, asshole.
Oh man, he was almost there.
So he spent a year in jail for that. After he was released, he attended Arkansas State Teachers College. And there he majored in pre-med studies as well. And
Pick yourself up and try again.
And then he was found with stolen items and was expelled from college. He wasn't prosecuted for this one, though. He was just expelled from school.
That makes sense.
I guess.
Doctor's privilege.
He's more successful at getting caught stealing than he is at doing his fucking homework, I
What's
guess.
that in your pocket? Well, it's not
Mine.
morphine. Yeah, you gotta go, bro.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video of the dude that like quits his own job and he like films it? And the boss is like, or he doesn't quit. He films himself getting fired. He knows he's about to get fired. And the boss is like, you can't spend money on the credit card like that, you idiot. And like, he was like in the office and he just films the whole thing. And he's like, I thought that was totally acceptable. And just like goes off on him.
No, I've actually never seen that one. I've seen another one that's similar. It was a guy that was, his boss was a woman. And he was like, you couldn't just, I guess he had fallen asleep or something on the job. And he was like, you couldn't just wake me up. You had to be a bitch about it and go and fucking report me. Like,
Oh my gosh. I want to see that.
yeah, so.
That sounds familiar. Anyways.
So he was expelled from Arkansas State Teachers College, which he was expelled for stealing and being an all-around jackass, and it didn't faze him a bit.
Is that what the paperwork says?
No, that's what I says. But he wasn't fazed by it. He actually falsified a degree. He stole documents and forged signatures and gave himself...
Like, Leo, Catch Me If You Can.
I've never seen that.
What the fuck? You really need to watch that. That's an amazing
Yeah,
story.
yeah, I've seen parts of it where he like pretends to be a pilot and stuff.
He pretends to be a pilot, a lawyer, a doctor, all sorts of shit.
Actor, not to play.
Jesus.
So he forged a bunch of signatures, and he gave himself, his greedy ass, a fictitious bachelor's and master's degree. Yeah, so that's what he did instead of going to another, like a third college. He was just like, fuck it, I'll make it look like I went to a third college.
Yeah.
In college, he actually had a girlfriend, and they had a daughter, and they got married.
Oh, wow.
And he continued to forge checks and do bullshit.
Leo.
He was caught while he was teaching at high school, and placed on probation. So he gave himself a fake degree and got hired as a teacher, and then they found out that he was not a real teacher.
How'd they find out? Any idea?
No, I have no idea.
I wonder if they were like,
out.
what's your theory on da-da-da-da-da? And he was like, and they were like, every teacher knows that.
Pi squared?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No, I have
It's
no
like
idea
false
either.
valor or whatever when you catch like a military guy in the mall that's like obviously not in the military and you're like, oh,
Have you ever come
shit.
across that in it, like on your own? Like
No, I of course it pisses me off, but at the same time, I've found it better to just leave those people alone. In my opinion, they're very mentally ill, and it's better than them shooting up a church. They're usually very to themselves, you know what I mean? So, whatever.
So anyway, he was teaching in high school, and they found out he was a big old fraud, and they put him on probation. Now in 65, him and his wife separated, but they didn't divorce until 74. Drag your fucking feet, why don't you?
Seriously. Decade of hell over there.
The next thing that happened to him, guess what he did?
Robbed, he snuck into the Vatican.
No.
Oh.
He was fucking stealing shit again.
Oh.
Damn it, Charles. Get
Damn it.
together.
Damn it, Albright.
Charlie, fuckstick.
Fuck.
So he actually stole hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise from a hardware store. This one got him a 2-year stretch in prison.
Really?
But he only served less than 6 months and then was released. So, I mean, I'm sure he learned his lesson. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What year was it?
74, 75, something like that. So, during this time, after he served 6 months in prison for the hardware store robbery, he actually started to gain the trust of, like, his neighbors and shit.
How?
He just began befriending them.
Okay.
And even, some of them even asked him to babysit, which,
Ugh.
I mean...
Well, that's not sickening at all. So they didn't know about his previous encounters or anything like that.
I guess not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's...
No, yeah, because no one would let him fucking babysit.
I've never let anybody babysit my kid except for my mom, you know what I mean? Which has been like half a dozen times or something.
Right.
I'm not going to ask the strange, lanky weirdo next door if he'll watch my kids. Like, no fucking way. I guess the 70s, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Hey, stranger, guy next door who I don't know, please watch my most precious possessions. Like, don't do anything wrong. Guess what he did? He fucking did something wrong. That's what he did. So, after he began to babysit for people in 81, he was visiting some friends, and he actually molested their 14-year-old daughter.
Oh, damn.
He was caught, prosecuted. He pled guilty, and he received probation. Seems like a light sentence.
Yeah.
For
Well, it seems to be the
heavy
trend,
crime.
doesn't it?
Yeah. He claimed he was innocent, but later on, he claimed he was innocent. He pled guilty during trial because he didn't feel like, quote unquote, dealing with the hassle of it.
Of course.
He didn't want to try to prove his innocence.
No, sounds like a great guy, for sure.
Yeah, he's super guy. So he wanted to avoid the hassle of a lengthy trial, so he was just like, fine, I did it. Whatever. It sounds like something you want to put a little effort into, you know what I mean? Like if you were super innocent of that.
I feel like he's like, I'll say I did it, but really...
And they're like, ingest a bag of Richards. How about that? So, in 84, he applied to be a Boy Scout troop leader. Brilliant.
Wow.
They said, no thanks.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Finally.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Finally. I don't even know if they'd looked into him or they were just like, I don't think so.
Like, what a fucking weirdo. Like,
Yeah. He's like, wanted to take a bunch of these young, vulnerable boys out into the woods.
Is that cool if I'll just be the only guy?
I swear to God, we'll sell like a shit ton of popcorn. I'll buy it if I have to. Like,
I'll do it myself.
yeah.
Man, I'm glad they said no.
Yeah.
God knows what could have happened.
No shit. I mean, what? Mm-hmm. There can't be much motivation for him to want to be a Boy Scout leader.
For real. No, that's definitely
It's not like he's trying to win a fucking merit badge, you know what I mean? Like. So, in 85 in Arkansas, he met a woman named Dixie.
Of course he did.
Dixie. He's not just whistling Dixie. Well, I went there.
Mm-hmm.
He invited her to live with him.
Of course she did.
She said yes, because why wouldn't she, right?
Yeah.
You know, charming Charles. So it wasn't very long after she moved in that she wound up paying all of his bills and supporting him.
Okay.
He was delivering newspapers in the early morning hours, and delivering newspapers is basically code for I'm going to chunk these fucking papers as fast as I can and then use the $18 I made to go get a hooker. So that's his game.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He could pretend the newspapers were grenades. That's what I would do if I had to do that shit.
I can imagine you doing that.
Yeah, I really would. I'd guarantee you every single time.
I can imagine you having like little targets. Like, I'm going to hit that.
Damn, that'd be bad. Oh, yeah. Just like pick one. Yeah.
I'm going to hit that flower on that bush over there.
Oh, yeah, every single time. You have to designate something.
So eventually you get phone calls like, I don't know who this paper guy is, but he's fucking my shrubbery right up. Like,
eventually I'd get really good. I'd be like the LeBron James of fucking newspaper delivery.
Tossing them shits through their fucking mail slots on their door.
Exactly, dude. Fuck it. Nobody like me. I'd be like, so dumb. I don't know. People still deliver newspapers, or does that shit just show up via fucking alien beam? Like,
No.
I never see people deliver newspapers.
Well, I used to work for
Of course you did, Jill. You don't even have to finish that. I'm sure you did.
a convenience store. It wasn't that fancy. So
I used to work for a canoe rental agency in the Himalayas. What the fuck? All right.
how did you know about that one?
Matter of fact, we'll do a mini episode about the stories related to it.
We used to have people come in with like truck beds full of newspapers and like a lawn chair in the back of their truck, and they come in 3 o'clock in the morning and get coffee and drinks or whatever. So it's progressed a little bit further than throwing them from a bike. What the fuck was that?
What was that?
Beats me. Whatever. I'm still alive, so it's all I concern myself with. Anywho, so back to the eyeball killer guy.
Yes, the eyeball killer. Okay, let's move forward.
We're so like easily distracted.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So that was in 1985 when he was living with Dixie, right? In 1990, here's where it gets murdery and shit. So his first murder was committed in December of 1990.
Okay.
His victim was Mary Lou Pratt. She was 33. She was a well-known sex worker in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas.
Okay.
They found her dead, and she was wearing only a t-shirt and a bra. She'd been shot in the back of the head with a .44 caliber gun.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, she was beaten really badly. Now, the medical examiner reported that the killer had removed both of her eyes with surgical precision.
Fucking A.
And guess what he did?
What?
He took her eyes too. He just couldn't keep his hands off of things that didn't belong to him.
Like he kept them?
He kept it. He kept her eyes.
Well, that's fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rough.
That's like a weird, because I know most serial killers have like some type of trophy type situation.
I feel like an eyeball would be
it's like,
gone in no time.
And
you
that's
know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like a bag of liquid. Like how?
Oh man,
how you keeping that? How you keeping that alive?
And why?
Right. I got
Look
nothing.
to me in my eyeballs. That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he was using them like they're doing cartoons and being like, I'm gonna look around the corner with these things.
Oh, that's so gross. He got juju eyeball. Maybe that's what, I don't know.
Dallas always laughs when that song comes on because I make up the lyrics because they
don't make sense anyway. Yeah.
I'm like, they got syrup pancakes. They got like just whatever I'm thinking of at the time.
Oh man.
I need to put that on my my playlist.
Yeah, for sure.
So in February of 1991, so this is 2 months later.
2 months later.
December, January, February. Yep, that would be correct. 2 months later, he killed Susan Beth Peterson. She was a 27-year-old sex worker also.
Damn.
And she was actually found on the same street that Mary Pratt was found on.
That'll do it. That'll raise some fucking suspicions for sure.
Yep, it looks like a pattern there.
And ma'am, did you notice if he had any juju eyeball?
He had my eyeballs.
So dumb. We're dumb.
We're so dumb. Hopefully people find that amusing anyway.
Yeah, well, whatever. We're trying.
We're charming.
Our lives
Charm
are hard
goes a long
sometimes, all right?
Yeah. Pulp Fiction again.
Let us bullshit.
Remember when, you remember Pulp Fiction, right?
Of course.
Okay, you know what he's talking about? They're sitting in the restaurant, they're talking about, like,
The diner.
He's like, I want to eat bacon because it comes from a filthy pig. And he's like, well, what about dog? He's like, I won't eat dog either. And he's like, bacon's good, you know?
You know, I love bacon, if I can be honest with you.
I love bacon, too.
I would love some bacon right now.
Well, we ate all the bacon I had last night.
That's true. That's true.
So,
Yep.
super sorry about that.
Fuck.
And I got no pigs, so.
Well, shit.
Yep. When they found Susan Peterson, she was nearly nude. She had been shot 3 times. Now they found 1 bullet wound in the top of her head, 1 in her left breast, and 1 in the back of her head. Her eyes had also been removed.
Jesus.
Yep. See no evil.
That was his only thing he cared about.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know, I've heard other serial killers say, like, I removed the eyes because I didn't want them looking at me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Logic for you. So, the investigators basically realized at this point that they had a repeat offender, you know what I mean? Like, what are the odds? 2 months later, they find another half-naked prostitute.
No, yeah, that's obvious. With eyeballs, that's obvious, yeah.
Yeah. Now, get this shit. After Mary Pratt, the first victim, was killed, Susan, the second victim, actually went to the police saying that she knew who had killed Mary.
Oh, shit.
But before she could provide them with the name, she turned up dead as well.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So...
That's not suspicious at all.
Yeah, I shouldn't have held on to that information.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wonder if he knew that she was onto him, and that's why he chose her out of, you know.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there had to be something there.
Yeah, maybe. So in March of 91, so another 2 months later, exactly 2 months, February 10th to March 10th, he killed Shirley Williams. It was his 3rd victim. She was the only black victim of his. The other 2 women were white. She was black. She was found dead lying near an elementary school.
Fuck.
Yeah, a waitress actually found her. She was completely nude and she was propped up against the curb.
Better than a kid.
What?
Better than a kid finding her.
Oh, that's true, yeah. It was a bad day for a waitress, though. I mean, you go to serve coffee and you're like, you won't believe what the fuck happened to me this morning.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
That sucked. He was a little rougher with her for some reason. She's propped up against a curb. Her eyes had been removed as well. But, like, they were removed really forcefully, I guess. Like, it wasn't...
Fuck.
Yeah, it wasn't, like, surgical precision this time. She had facial bruises. She had a broken nose. She'd been shot in the face and shot through the top of her head.
Jeez.
The medical examiner, field agent, pulled back her eyelids, and that's when he discovered her eyes were missing. And during her autopsy, they actually found, like, a chunk of the metal from an X-Acto knife embedded behind where her eye would have been, like, behind her eyelids.
Oh, fuck, dude.
So he was just, like, jabbing them out, like, carving them out, and he actually broke the X-Acto knife, and that's what he was using.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's... That's beyond fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty sucky. The only thing that I can hope for is that she
was already dead. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
He actually raped all of these women. Obviously, I don't know if that's obvious, but
it just seems like the type.
Yeah, and he left all of them with, like, even the ones that were clothed, like, from the waist up. He pulled their shirts and their bras back, like, exposing their breasts. That's how he posed them.
Yeah.
for whatever reason. So the police, he got the attention of the police when a woman had reported to police that Charles Albright had been coming to her work regularly, like every day, and asking her out on a date. He was like relentless about it.
Yep.
And she finally gave in, and she's like, okay, fine. And she immediately regretted it. Like, as soon as they went out, she said it was awful. He was cruel. He was mean.
On the first date?
On the first date. Way to make an impression, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Go with your instincts, chicks.
Yeah, for real.
So he actually told her as they're driving on the first date, he said, if I really wanted to right now, I could drag you into one of the houses I own and force you to have sex with me. I wouldn't have to do all this bullshit, like buy you dinner and whatever. And
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a hell of a pickup line, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
So also around the same time frame, he had been pulled over by a cop during the solicitation of a prostitute, and she was actually already in his car, so she might have had her life saved that night.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, he was charged, and they kind of like they suspected him because of the other woman's report about him. Yeah. So they booked him, and they were able to get a warrant and search his place, which was bad fucking news for him because he was so guilty.
Yep. Did he have like evidence everywhere?
Yeah, they actually found the same brand and color condoms that he had used on the victims.
Oh shit! That'll do it.
Yeah, they found the X-Acto knife, which
yep,
that's pretty damning evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And they were actually able, I think, to match the one that he had broken. Like he had it in the dispenser or whatever. Still,
yeah.
So like, here's the chunk that came out of what's her name's head. Here's the part that's left.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it looks like maybe he has something to do with this, or somebody borrowed his shit and they're really irresponsible. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
But at least they returned it. So
the period blood was flying out of the window. I don't
know. So actually, this is a weird fact that I just noticed. He was charged with 3 counts of murder. So he was arrested on March 23rd, 1991. We'll get this shit. His trial began on December 13th, 1991. Mary Lou Pratt was murdered December 13th, 1990. So exactly a year from his first murder, he was on trial.
Yeah.
They started his trial. So most of the evidence they found...
That's nuts.
They presented was like circumstantial,
Mm-hmm.
But they found hairs at Shirley Williams' murder site that matched his hair. So that was the only... I mean, I don't know how that works exactly, circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
I know, I don't know if that would be considered circumstantial evidence. Like, if his hair was there at the scene, but the scene was a public place, he could say that he frequented that area. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that would be considered circumstantial or not. I ain't no lawyer, okay?
Yep.
I ain't no mathematician. I ain't no architect.
Me neither.
I'm just this chick that reads
Me
stuff
neither.
about murder people.
Yep.
So, on December 18th, 1991... which is like a whole 5 days after after his trial started, the jury deliberated and found him guilty on only the murder of Shirley Williams, I guess because his hair was present at the scene. But his ass is still alive, as far as I could find. He was given a life sentence and is currently incarcerated at the John Montford Psychiatric Unit in Lubbock, Texas.
Interesting.
Lovely area.
Yeah, no kidding. Tons to do.
Yeah.
Although that's not a unit that I normally hear of.
What do you mean?
The jail or the psychiatric unit. That's not. That's not a place I normally hear about.
Well, it's also weird. Like, he was arrested for this murder. He was found guilty. Like, why did they decide to send him to a He was, according to the beginning of the story, he was intelligent.
Yeah.
Like
how did that happen? Yeah.
Well, how did that... Normally, you would be found insane. I mean, I don't know.
And we'll talk about my guy as well, and how he had a similar experience, but it didn't turn out too well for him. So.
Well, good.
So that's the eyeball killer, huh?
Yep. Good old Charles Albright.
Charles Albright, the eyeball killer, cutting people's eyes out of their head. That is disturbing to say the least.
Yeah, I don't know what order he did shit in. Like, I don't know. I would hope that they were dead.
I hope it was like, yeah.
Or before. Jeez.
No, I'm with you. Do the eyeballs afterwards. Yeah, got it.
Totally. Ooh, you feel that breeze? It's nice. You hear all this clickety clackety going on. The cat and the dog decided to wander in here for some reason, and it's hot as Satan's butts. So we got the door open. And
Yeah, it is hot as hell in here.
Did I say Satan's butts? He's got
Something along those lines.
yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into my guy. I want to talk about Derrick Todd Lee,
Get after it.
a.k.a. the Baton Rouge serial killer. This guy had at least 7 cases of rape and murder between, potentially 1992 to 2003. At least 1993 to 2003. So he was born on November 5th, 1968 in St. Francisville, Louisiana. This is just northwest of Baton Rouge, right? So once again, taking a trip back to Louisiana. And yeah, I mean, how many have we done there so far? At least a few. So
We got
look at the wall. I'm like, I don't know who's from Louisiana. Ronald Dominique, for sure. Gillis. My other dude.
Was Kenneth McDuff from there?
No, he's from
Texas?
here. Yeah.
My guy that
Obviously, Derrick Todd Lee.
my guy that I just did is from Texas too. So
Well, we've done a lot. Anyways.
3, maybe 4. I don't.
Well, Derrick Todd Lee, he was born in St. Francisville, Louisiana, like I said, just northwest of Baton Rouge. Seemingly normal life at first, but his dad left soon after he was born. Something that's really interesting about this is that his dad was actually mentally ill and wound up later in his life being in a mental institution after being charged with attempted murder of his ex-wife.
That sounds really familiar. About the father leaving right after he was born because he was mentally ill. Was it the same? I don't know what I'm talking.
Definitely not the same person.
No, but I
definitely
swear,
a similar story.
I swear that my last guy, yeah, what's his name? Gillis.
Sean Vincent Gillis.
Right after he was born, his father was mentally ill and an alcoholic, and he left the family.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So this was kind of similar. They said they were a lot better off without him, but the mom got remarried to a decent man who attempted to raise Derrick and he had like 2 sisters. At least 2 sisters, a couple sisters anyways, who were a lot smarter than he was, and he struggled a lot with that. So in school, they wound up, he was struggling a lot with schoolwork, and his younger sister at least was passing him up, and he was very embarrassed by that. And the mom and the stepdad had him tested, his IQ tested, and the highest that he got on it was a 75.
Yo.
So
Didn't Forrest Gump surpass that?
I'm not sure, but it certainly caused a lot of trouble in school. The first real problems that he had was around age 9 or 10. And a couple things that were being noticed is he was sneaking around different houses in his own neighborhood, and he was peeping in the windows trying to catch the girls getting dressed and stuff, right? Also, he started having this fascination with cats and dogs, and he would like torture them. So he started killing cats and dogs and would torture them. Obviously, between that and looking into the windows of neighborhood girls, it was pretty obvious that he was going to have some troubles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if his mom had just slept with the principal right off the freaking get-go, then maybe he would have had a similar fate. He would have been
Forrest.
He would have been a successful shrimp boat captain.
You never know. You never know.
Had like 13 Jenny.
He was already in Louisiana, first of all.
Oh,
so
shit,
he was
yeah.
near the area. You know what I mean? But no, there's my boat.
Bubba Gump Todd Shrimp Company.
You know what I mean? Seriously. You never know. Would have been better than this. At age 13, he was arrested for the first time for burglary. Police already knew that he was kind of a troublesome youth because of his experiences with looking into girls' windows and stuff like that pretty often, right?
Yeah.
At 16, he had a serious charge. He pulled a knife on a boy in a fight and was actually charged with attempted second-degree murder. However, no jail. He was a minor. He was barely a minor, but no jail. He got like deferred adjudication or some shit. And then at 17, a mere year later, he's arrested again for being a peeping Tom. Once again, looking in girls' windows. Once again, no jail, right?
Get it together.
Yeah, so he's going through all these problems. He's 13, 16, 17, getting in trouble with the police. And then at 20 years old in 1988, he gets married, winds up having 2 kids.
Well, I mean, he is quite the catch.
Well, he developed like a split personality type, right? So he had these 2 lives he was living in one side, and like in one life, at one side, he was, a hardworking, good father, tried to be anyways. And the other side, he was a completely kind of like a loud-mouthed, super outgoing, dressing fancy, trying to pick up chicks at the bar, even though he's married with kids, you know what I mean? Not loyal at all. So in 1996, the wife's dad passed away, and they were gifted $250,000.
Well, I bet they did something really good with that money to help humankind.
No, not at all. So actually, he just started going to the bars a lot more, bought a couple cars. He spent her money, basically, all $250,000 in about 3 years by 1999. So he was about 30 years old at that time, right?
Wow.
A girl comes forward by the name of Colette Walker. I almost want to say Colette Wilson.
I almost thought you were going to say that.
Because of the Texas Killing Fields. That was the first girl.
Oh, really?
13-year-old Colette Wilson, yeah. Colette Walker, 30. She was not 30. He was 30. She was older, though, in her 20s or whatever. In St. Francisville.
Did you say older?
Older than 13-year-old Colette Wilson.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
it's like 30 isn't smaller than 20 something. But
this took place in St. Francisville. So this dude, years and years later, is in his hometown, right? Which is a small little town, and he's starting to cause some problems.
you sound lucky to have him.
Yeah, no, for sure. He contributes to a lot of the police force's budget. So, no, I don't know.
A lot of overtime.
Anyways, he started stalking this girl. She complained to the police and then moved. He got probation. Once again, no jail. I feel like it's like impossible to go to jail.
He doesn't have enough wrists for the slaps they're giving out.
I know. No, you're not kidding. And then we fast forward until February of 2000. So a few years. And he has a full-time girlfriend and his wife, by the way.
I was going to say, what happened to his wife?
Yeah, he has both. Her name's the girlfriend's name is Cassandra. He gets in a big fight with Cassandra, and she was like, "I'm gonna go file a restraining order." So she starts the process. 3 days later, they meet at a park or somewhere in public, and he beats the living shit out of her in front of everyone. Doesn't care.
Wow.
Probation was finally revoked.
I was about to say, if you say he got probation again, I swear to God,
He was already on probation.
I'm going to send him anthrax in the mail or something.
This time, they revoked the probation, and he did a year in prison. February of 2001, exactly a year later, he's released from prison, goes on house arrest. They give him an ankle bracelet, right? Mm-hmm. He fucking cuts it off.
That doesn't sound tamper-proof at all.
No, not at all. He's given a warning.
So like, he cut it off, and they were like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" And he was like, "No, never mind."
Yeah, and they put it back on. Gave him a warning.
What a dipshit.
No more jail time.
So it was tamper-proof. He was just too stupid.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get together, Forrest.
Fast forward a little bit. Well, so I say fast forward a little bit, but this was actually a few years prior, but it didn't come up until later.
Okay.
So 2 teens were in a car at a cemetery that he frequented. Kind of like the area that he frequented, right? It was a 15-year-old girl, Michelle Chapman, and she was making out with her boyfriend or whatever, and then a guy pulls up with a 6-foot-long gardening tool and just starts hacking at him. He wasn't that great at it, and he runs away, right?
What?
So the kids start to run away.
What kind of gardening tool?
I think it was like a hoe or no, like a long blade or something like that.
Was it like a hand spade or like a little plastic rake or something?
No, it was a bigger tool, and he cut him up pretty good, but they wound up being able to run, and then he was like, "Oh fuck," and then he ran.
What a read. For
sure. And then eventually, and that took place in, I want to say 1992, right? So this was, we're kind of getting into the victims now, right? So this is obviously a long time before 2001, but nothing came of it until 1998. So in 1992, this shit happened. In 1998, they come forward, the girl, Michelle Chapman, and she's like, "Let me ID him." And they have a lineup They have like pictures and they do a lineup and she's instantly like, that's the dude.
She's like, I've been thinking about this bitch
That's the dude.
while.
But the statute of limitations had just passed.
Figures.
So they could not arrest him. Even though she was like, that's definitely him. Keep an eye on him, right?
Yeah.
So he's free to go.
Of course.
Now, the very first possible murder, they think it was him, took place in Zachary, Louisiana. So if you look at Baton Rouge, to the northwest, you have, St. Francisville or whatever, and then to the north central, you kind of have Zachary. So it's kind of all in the same area. Connie Walker in Zachary, Louisiana, was bludgeoned with a hammer.
Wasn't the first victim's name Walker?
I'm sorry, Connie Warner.
Okay.
Bludgeoned with a hammer, okay? Number 2 is Eugene, I don't even know how to say this, Boy Fontaine.
Huh.
June 13th
That's
of...
a fun, kicky name.
Yeah. She was left near the LSU campus, which really started getting people's attention, okay? The third one, I'll just call it the third one, was in April 18th of 1998. Randy Merrier, 28 years old from Zachary, Louisiana. Her body was never found, and the fucked up thing is the next morning her 3-year-old was found wandering in the front yard. And that's how they were like... He was left in the house alone because she was kidnapped.
That's that's horrible.
Mm-hmm. He was fine, but that is how it was discovered.
That would be Jack. Somebody steals my ass,
like,
and he's just like
hanging out
outside, jumping up and down.
I know. On the September 24th, 2001. This is just after 9/11. Gina Wilson Green, near LSU, raped and strangled. Right. So we're starting to see a little bit of a pattern near LSU, which is kind of across the river from the area that he frequented and worked at. Mm-hmm. So it made sense, right? The crazy thing about her is that she told her mom that she thought she was being watched in the weeks leading up to this, which is terrible.
Scary.
Move forward a little bit more to January of 2002, and Geraldine DeSoto, sounds like an old lady, 21 years old, right? Weird name. Raped, beaten, and stabbed. Okay. In May of 2002, Charlotte Murray Pace. This was one of the famous ones. Okay, she was raped and stabbed, and her throat was slit. She was stabbed, the medical examiner determined, over 81 times with a screwdriver.
A screwdriver? Jesus, that's excessive.
Or something similar to a screwdriver. But yeah, that's what I said. I said that's excessive.
Yeah.
81 times.
I think I'd prefer a knife, actually.
She was actually a week away from being named the youngest MBA recipient ever in LSU's history. She was 21 going on 22 years old. Graduated high school at 15. Got her bachelor's at 20 and her MBA at 22. Or would have. Very close. You know what I mean?
That's awful.
In July of 2002, this is number 7 now, Diane Alexander was raped, beaten, and strangled. And as she was dying, her son came home and walked in the door. Right?
Oh, damn.
And he went into a frenzy and was like, fuck that. And was in such like a panic mode that it scared the dude. And she survived.
Oh, thank God.
She was one of the only known survivors, right? The son ran him out and he was like, oh shit. And the son saw him and was able to put a composite together, but nothing happened. All right, this was in 2002. Nothing happened until there was a special task force put together a year later. So
it's a good thing that he didn't screwdriver her. He tried to strangle her instead. I mean,
yeah. Well, so one of the things that was so difficult about this killer is that his methods varied, and it was kind of just like weapons of opportunity, things of that nature. So it was very difficult to track him down because he didn't have a signature. He wasn't cutting people's eyes out. You know what I mean?
Well, healing psychologically is probably impossible, but at least physically, she didn't have a bunch of holes punched in her. She was
right.
He tried to strangle her, and then he got chased off. So hopefully, she fully recovered.
I believe so. If
he had stabbed her 8 or 9 times with a screwdriver,
she wrote a book in 2014 called Divine Justice about this whole thing. So she did recover. 3 days later, so that was July 9th, July 12th of 2002, Pamela Kinmore, 44 years old, goes missing. She's kidnapped, she's beaten, she's raped, and her throat is slit as well.
Man.
The 9th victim was in November of 2002, November 21st. Trenisha Colomb, 23 years old, kidnapped from her mom's gravesite. Can you fucking believe that? This is the cemetery...
That the first 2 victims were?
This is the cemetery that Yeah, he frequented. You know what I mean? And so she was kidnapped from her mom's own fucking gravesite. I can't believe that.
That's terrible.
She was raped and beaten and killed that day.
Wow.
March 13th of 2003, Connie Lynn Yoder.
This feels like a lot more than 7.
This is 10.
Okay.
This is 10. So the very first one in 1992 is kind of up in the air.
So he got convicted of 7?
No, he didn't. But I think he admitted to him later. He only got convicted of 2. But Connie Lynn Yoder found with the body of Pamela Kinmore in Whiskey Bay. So when that happened in 2003, it was a crucial turning point in the investigation because they realized that this was these people were connected, right? So at first, they were finding semen all over the bodies, but it didn't match anybody in the databases, right? And they were found once again, Louisiana, in different parishes. The parishes, the different departments never talked to each other. So after they found these 2 bodies together, they they fucking formed a a web. The joint
You gumshoe.
It was like a joint parish task force, right? That was stupid. Because there was no communication between the parishes as per usual, right? So, and then on top of that, there was false information. They had got a tip from a respectable person saying, we have a suspicious guy in a white pickup truck near our area where they found one of the bodies. And at this time, the police had believed he was in a white pickup truck. So because of this tip specifically, they thought he was a white guy. There were 2 to 3 serial killers known in the area, including Sean Vincent Gillis from last week, right? So in 2002, they actually formed the agency, but they didn't really start doing anything until 2003, I feel. But the purpose was to connect the parishes, and they included some people in the FBI as well. So, but eventually, when they formed it in 2002, they had released a composite sketch of that white male that this whole thing was based on, and it was like a white male with a big nose, long hair. You know what I mean? Anything but Derrick Todd Lee, who is an African American male. You know what I mean? May 2003, that lady's son comes forward to the task force, and an accurate sketch was released based on Alexander's son's encounter. So at this time, the police decided that they needed to collect some DNA evidence because they had plenty of DNA evidence from the crime scenes.
They just didn't have anybody to link it to.
But they didn't have anybody to link it to. Now, once the task force was formed, they realized that a lot of the DNA was matching each other, but it still was not connected to anybody in the database. So they knew they had a single killer that was all connected in these murders, but they had no idea who it was. So what they did is they started rounding up people. Okay. They started rounding up people that were known criminals in the area. I don't even know if this is illegal, but like group DNA roundup fashion. They started taking people's DNA. I mean, I think they were asking people for their DNA, and a lot of people gave in. They actually wound up grabbing this dude, Derrick Todd Lee.
They do checkpoints. They do DNA checkpoints sometimes.
Well, if you're fucking, what was it, McDuff that ran through it? No, who was it?
It was McDuff.
Was it McDuff?
Yeah, but I'm talking about like...
No, I know what you mean.
You'll see that on Dexter, actually.
Dum, dum, dum. Spoiler. However...
Not that big of a one.
Lee volunteered his DNA, and the very same day he took his family and he dipped to Atlanta, Georgia. He was arrested in Atlanta one day after the results were returned and a warrant was put out for him, right? They immediately tested his IQ because they were like, something's off with this guy. And less than 69 is generally considered mentally retarded, or at least some level of it. He tested a 65, so he was below the threshold, but they were like...
Shrimp salad, shrimp gumbo, shrimp scampi.
Well, they didn't give a fuck. They were like, yeah, he's fit to stand trial, close enough, right? August of 2004... Geraldine DeSoto's murder, he was found guilty. Due to the DNA, he was sentenced to life in prison because there was no sexual... There was DNA found there, but it was like hair. It wasn't semen. So because he was not committing a separate felony while murdering her, he was sentenced to life instead of death. Right? So it wasn't capital murder. It was first degree. Actually, it was second degree. In October of 2004, a couple months later, Charlotte Pace, he was found guilty. Rape was part of the equation. He was upgraded to a sentence of death.
Cool.
That was in 2004. He tried to fight it for 4 years. And yeah, it didn't work.
Just accept it.
He tried to fight it for 4 years. It never worked. In 2008, they finalized and upheld the death penalty for him. In 2016, 8 years onto death row, which, by the way, he was at Angola, Louisiana State Penitentiary, where all these other people have been at, right? In 2008, they upheld the death penalty, and in 2016, 8 years later, he was transferred to a hospital having chest pains, right? And they were like, oh, shit, here we go. As a matter of fact, the hospital was in Zachary, where a lot of his victims had died. The very same hospital.
Don't tell me he gets away by dying on his own. That sucks.
Unfortunately,
I hate that.
he was transferred there for emergency treatment and died in the hospital due to his heart disease.
So he died the same way he fucking would have had he been free, and that pisses me off.
That was January of 2016 at 47 years old. So he had spent 12 years in prison at that time.
Bye-bye, Waterhead.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's I don't care how he dies. I'm just happy he's not a threat anymore. His son that he had with his girlfriend named Diedrich was actually arrested in November of 2018 for accidentally shooting a friend. They were like trying to make a music video or some shit.
Holy shit.
And he like shot him. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting little fact to go along with that. But more or less, that is the story of Derrick Todd Lee, the Baton Rouge serial killer.
When did that happen? The shooting?
2018, November.
I swear I remember that.
I'm sure you've heard of it.
I remember seeing I think his girlfriend was recording it.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but there was a...
Oh, no. That video.
I know the girl shot the boyfriend, sorry.
And that was like in the car or whatever.
No, they were like, he was trying to test out a bulletproof vest or something, and she shot him.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah. I heard about that.
Never mind, just kidding.
Different people.
Still stupid circumstances.
But what a crazy story. I love this kind of shit, and it's been so nuts. That's the story of Derrick Todd Lee and the crazy shit that he went through and the kind of torturous shit that he did. He certainly wasn't cutting anybody's eyes out. That's kind of hard to follow.
He wasn't cutting anybody any slack, that's for damn sure.
No, yeah.
Still, that sucks.
And Charles Albright, the eyeball killer. That's his name, right? Charles Albright.
That's him.
So Charles Albright and Derrick Todd Lee.
Couple of real winners there. Best good friends.
Next week is episode 10. We have already started recording premium content, so we hope to have that out to you as soon as possible. Episode 10, I'm not sure where we're going with that, but it's going to be epic, so it's got to be something special, you know what I mean? Maybe it'll be a bit longer than normal or whatever, but we'll have that out to you as soon as possible. Well, we'll see you next week, everybody. As usual, we thank you very, very much for supporting us. We're growing, and we appreciate it so much, and our fans are the absolute best. So we love you guys so much. Stay tuned for episode 10, and we will see you next week.
Adios, weirdos.